Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. Today I would like to present our paper about a review on speech emotion recognition for general cases and Indonesian spoken language. My name is Amalia Zahra, and for the next 10 minutes or so, I would like to explain the results of our literature review about this topic. And this is the outline of my presentation today. Before I'm going into detail about speech emotion recognition, I would like to tell a story about the background of this research and then move on to general emotion recognition, especially in the areas of speech features and classifier methods, and then recent studies on this area, and then move on to a specific language for emotion recognition, which is Indonesian. And finally, I will withdraw conclusion from this literature review. Before I'm talking about the detail of this research, especially from the technical point of view, I would like to tell a story about the background behind the importance of speech emotion recognition. We all know that a speech contains some emotion, and this emotion indicates the speaker's psychological state, or it can also indicate the meaning of the speech. For example, a loud and fast speech might indicate that someone is in the state of anger. And this kind of information would be very useful for a system to react appropriately or to give an appropriate response. For example, in robotics, when the robot interacts with humans, the reaction that the robot takes based on the emotion of the speech from the human. So it will be very useful in our daily lives. For example, when I built a smart car and then I equipped the system with the emotion recognition component, and when the driver is stuck in the middle of traffic jam and then he or she screams as a sign of frustration, then the system might react appropriately by playing the relaxing music or calming song, some kind of relaxing songs to calm the mood of the driver. So that's one of the potential use of this area. These are the scopes of the literature reviews we have conducted. The first is about speech features that are usually used in speech emotion recognition. And then second is a data set. And then third is the classifier methods. A lot of studies on emotion recognition have been done in the last years, and we categorize the review into three groups. First is speech features, and then data set, and finally classifier methods. In terms of speech features, there are a lot of features that can be used to recognize emotion from the speech, and the most popular one is MFCC, or male frequency cepstral coefficient. Besides MFCC, there are also studies that used energy, prosody, or frequency, modulation spectral features, or MSF, perceptual linear predictive, and many more. The second area is data set. There are a lot of data sets out there that can be used for the speech emotion recognition experiments. The first is mind reading corpus, and then there's also a speech tutor, Berlin MODB. Berlin MODB is a German speech dataset, and then Vera and Mittag, or VIM, that's also German. Imovo, it's an Italian corpus with arousal and valence labeling. Cassia, EESDB, CDESD, they are all in Chinese. And there are other datasets like Ruslana is Russian, and then Fujitsu, it's a Japanese dataset, Buemo is Turkish, and many others. In terms of the classifier methods, there are also many algorithms that can be used to detect emotion from the speech, and the most popular one is SVM, or support vector machine. with various kernels, such as linear kernel, RBF kernel, Gaussian kernel, and the most accurate one is SVM using RBF kernel. There are also studies that used RBF neural network, Gaussian mixture model, hidden Markov model, or even deep learning. Deep learning is also used in other areas, including this area, which is CNN, or convolutional neural network, and LSTM, long short-term memory. Move on to the recent studies on speech emotion recognition. I would like to highlight these three things. The first one is approach. There are studies out there that focus on speaker-dependent experiment versus speaker-independent experiment. Speaker-dependent experiment means that the speakers whose speech are used in the training dataset also appear in the task set. Speaker independent means the speakers whose speech is used in the training dataset are totally different to the speakers whose speech is used in the task set. Regarding the algorithm, SVM, which is the most popular algorithm in this area, can achieve quite a good accuracy, which is the average error of 6.2%. And it's less than 10%, which is good. And then there is another algorithms, which is a combination of deep neural network, decision tree, and SVM. They can achieve a better average emotion recognition rate by 6.25% compared to the traditional SVM and 2.91% compared to DNN and SVM only, so without decision tree. It might be very interesting to do research on Indonesian emotion recognition. Why Indonesia? Well, first, because we are Indonesian. Second is based on the fact that the people in Indonesia have various cultural background. There are people from Sumatra, there are people from Java, etc., where the accents are quite different from one province to another province. And it might influence the emotion contained within the speech, influenced by the accent, those accents. And from the literature review, we get an information that the highest accuracy obtained in languages with German origin, like Dutch and English, followed by Roman languages like Italian, French, and Spanish. And the lowest accuracy comes from Indonesian language, which is the only language in that study that isn't included in the Indo-European language family. And from our review, we also get an information that culture plays an important role in emotional recognition. Different culture might indicate different influence to their speech. And from the literature review, we get information that the low accuracy is achieved by the Indonesian language compared to other language, which is 41% accuracy using Tiger energy, and then 68.31% is the highest accuracy achieved by the studies using Indonesian dataset, which is lower than other experiments or researches that use other languages like German, English, Dutch, etc. And then we can see that active emotions are easier to recognize than passive emotions. Active emotion is like anger, happy. Those emotions are easier to recognize. Passive emotions is like neutral, calm, sad. Those kind of emotions are a little bit harder to recognize compared to active emotions. And then if you are interested to do experiment on Indonesian emotion recognition, there is a corpus focuses on Indonesian dataset, which is called Indonesian Emotional Speech Corpus. From our literature review, we can withdraw several conclusions. First is feature selection method is almost mandatory because in speech technology we are dealing with high dimensional data set which have hundreds or even thousands of features, and it's very important to select features that are relevant to the task only. The second conclusion is that a good structured corpus helps very much for efficient training and test processes. So it will be very useful for our experiments if we use available corpus instead of building our own corpus. If you are interested in building your own corpus, you must be very concerned about the balance number of labels or the balanced numbers of classes of emotions in your data set. And you have to deal with pre-processing as well to make it ready for experiment. And the final conclusion is that one of the best performing machine learning classifier methods for most general cases, including Indonesians, are support vector machine and extreme learning machine. And of course, you can try other methods or other algorithms, including deep learning, because it's very popular right now, but the research is still ongoing, including our research, besides this paper. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any comment or question, please feel free to ask me. Thank you very much.